Guys, how you doing? I was just listening to somebody, and she was talking about the end game right now and things that you need to deal with before it's over. Um, things that you have to deal with that you haven't dealt with, like possibly a lot of deal things in your past and all that stuff, and making things right or whatever. And I want to say this too: some people, me especially, but some people it's not necessarily about just making things right in your past. Some people need to learn how to stand up to others. Some people need to get the fear factor of when you stand up to somebody else that might seem to have more power than you. You need to know that if they are wrong in what they are requesting and you are right, then you need to, and I'm just speaking in general. When I say you, I'm speaking in general. Then you need to be able to have the faith. See, I think what happens is it's not about trying to clean up every single little thing that you've done in your life. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, you're trying to do everything at a very egoic human standpoint, and you don't even know everything. Um, But I feel like some of the lessons that we need to learn is to have faith is a big thing. I think for a lot of people, and for me, faith is a big thing because when you might look like you might be faced to be as a giant that's asking for something that they should not be asking for, and you don't want to just give it to them because you're never learning your lesson, especially when you know that it's something that's not right. Okay, like it maybe you're being treated differently than other people and you have to keep giving in and giving in and giving in and going along to get along, but you're never ever facing your fears. You keep doing things out of fear, but the problem is you keep feeding the monster, and it's never going to end. It's never going to be enough. It's always going to be something that you're going to have to do. It's never going to stop. So I think faith is a big thing. A lot of people don't really believe in faith like that because it sounds like religion. And I hate that religion has really messed it up for a lot of people because a lot of stuff that tools that we're going to use um, are not about being religious. Okay. But we're going to have to learn to live our lives like a magical life, but like a supernatural type of life, which is really not supernatural because it's not necessarily outside of the laws of nature. Okay. But it's beyond it's beyond what the a human ability when you're up against a giant. And I'm just going to use this example, the example of David and Goliath. Goliath was one of the giants, and David was a tiny little boy, and he threw that rock and just you know the story about that. Now, obviously, David might not have had the natural physical strength to throw this rock at Goliath and knock him out. Obviously, David would not have had the real physical strength to knock him out when Goliath was a giant. And what I mean by giant, that he might have been 10 feet tall or more. Not somebody who's 6 feet or 7 feet. He might have been 10 feet tall or more. Okay. And David's little self knocked him out. Now this seems to be have a lot to do with the story of just having faith. David had faith in his God. Okay. David had faith. And because David had faith, because I feel like this is the biggest lesson that people need to learn outside of, oh, I might have hurt this person's feelings. maybe I need to go talk to them and say I'm sorry. Well, yeah, maybe if you feel that way, that's fine. That's fine. But I think the biggest thing to learn is a lot of people have to have faith. Yeah, if you owe some money on a bill and you're behind, and here's my thing with bills. I think a lot of people, not everybody, because some people are scam artists. I feel like a lot of people, if they actually had it, they would take care of a lot of things if they actually had it. Some people don't have the money. It's not that they're trying to be low down. Some people just don't have it. And I'm gonna tell you something else. Some bills are not yours. Some of the load that you're carrying is not yours. I want to give this example of what's this company? I forget this company. It's called Care Credit. I took my dog to the vet in 2024 when she was just like a little puppy, probably like 2 months old or so. And I applied for Care Credit. And I was they gave me a 2,000, because when you take your dog to the vet, they don't give you can't do payments all the time. You have to be able to pay when you take your dog to the vet, at least over here. You have to be able to pay the whole amount. You can't just have you can't do payment arrangements. There's no payment arrangements. You have to have all the money right there. And that's why sometimes it's dangerous to have pets, because if something happens to your pet and they're about to die, you might have to let them die. And I don't like that. That's a little scary over money, that you might have to let your pet die, you know. But because even with pet insurance, you have to still pay everything up front and then uh, try to submit a claim with the receipt to get your money back. So you still have to have the money right then and there to pay. So pet insurance don't even, it's not like regular insurance that a person has, where you can use your insurance and it covers a certain amount and you might have a copay or whatever, if you have a copay at all. It's not like that. You pay the full amount and then you submit a claim and then they can reimburse you. That don't work for me. What if I don't have the money? See, so sometimes it might not be the best idea to have pets, because if something bad happened to your pet, you might have to let them die over money. So when the thing comes with money, I feel like a lot of times people just don't have it and they're doing the best they can, and that's not the biggest thing that can be held against a person, because if you're doing everything in your human strength to just try to make ends meet and it's not working, I feel like that's not something that, oh, well, you're gonna have to clear that up. No, I feel like faith is needed. Just like David and Goliath. I feel like when these situations come, faith is needed. Well, I want to talk about this thing with Care Credit. So I was approved for $2,200. Okay, and so when my dog, she had double pneumonia, and when she came out, she it ended up costing $1,700 because she spent, I think, a couple of nights at the vet. So it ended up costing $1,700, which, okay, well, I was clear for $2,200 with Care Credit. Okay, and so then I started paying monthly. I started paying, and I set my thing on auto pay so I wouldn't forget. I set these type of credits on auto pay so I don't forget. I went back to check my Care Credit, and it showed that I owed $1,700. I said, that doesn't make any sense. So they took my credit limit. I don't know who did this and how this works. They took my credit limit from $2,200 down to $1,000. And so it still showed that I owed like $1,700. And I said, wait a minute. So how was I approved for $2,200? This was in 2024. And so I used $1,700, but I've been paying down on that. I've been paying down on that every single month. I've been paying down to the point where I didn't even owe $1,000. I was owing less than $1,000 because I kept paying and paying on it. Okay. And I go back and check, and they showed where they removed my $2,200 credit limit that I was approved for when I originally went to the vet. You took it down to $1,000. And so now it's showing that I went over my credit. Like, that don't make no sense. Who went into the system and changed that? See, this what some people would call the devil. That right there is what some people would call the devil. Now, should I go on and pay for it? Let me go on and pay, even though I know that might not have been right. Let me go on and pay. This is what I'm talking about, courage. And this is what I'm talking about, faith. Now, should I go on and just go, no, well, let me pay it, even though I know it ain't right. Let me pay it. And if you try to argue with them, it might be hard to win. And they might put it on my credit, and it's going to be a state of my credit, and I have to pay something that I know is not my fault. I've been hearing this story with other people when I look at them online, where somebody try to put some kind of bill or some kind of collector or debt on their in the system and telling them, well, you have to pay this. People are like, I don't know what that is. You got to pay it. Okay, well, let me pay it because they're going to mess up my credit. I'm going to go to jail, so let me pay it, even though I don't know what the hell this is. Like, you got to, this is what I'm talking about, standing up to people. This is what I'm talking about. I think a lot of things, a lot of what people have to deal with is going to be faith, because a lot of this stuff that's happening to folks is outside of human abilities. Because the system is getting a little too, people are getting greedy. I'm not going to say the system is corrupt, but people are getting greedy. You got a lot of con artists out there, and they know they'll hack your identity. They hack the system. They do all these things. And it's almost like it's nothing you can do. Should that be some karma that's built up, that's held up against you when you didn't do it? It's not your fault because somebody else. This is just, like I say, you can call it the devil. I can say it's the shadow. Everything done to try to disturb you, to keep you from rising up in consciousness, from being a higher version of yourself. Everything being done to keep you, to hold you back. Okay? Some people owe the IRS, and you can pay them, but you have to make sure that you have constant income coming in, and you have to you can make payment arrangements and stuff. But like I said, the way this world is kind of working sometimes, and the things that's done that's not right, it's almost beyond your human abilities to try to take care of it. And that's why I say faith is coming in, because you got people that's desperate, that's trying to come after money. You have people that's desperate, that's trying to come after your money. And if you're renting a place, I want to talk about this because I tried to keep. If you're renting a place and on the rental agreement, you pay your rent according to the rental agreement. Okay. And then you pay for extra, like, little services like the maintenance person or gardeners or stuff like that. So I pay what I'm supposed to pay according to my rental agreement, but I also pay for like the solar. Yeah, I pay for solar and then gardening every month. I have to pay extra in my rent for that, for the solar panels and gardening. So now the person, the landlord, wanted me to put the homeowners association, to put all of that in my name, and to put like the utilities. Well, I have the utility bills like light bill and water bill and gas bill in my name. He's asking me to put like the trash, like for them to pick up the trash. I don't know I forget what you call that, but when they come to pick up the trash every week, to put that part in my name. So I called these people and tried to put it in my name. I forget what you call it. It's not the utilities, it's something else. It's like waste management, but that's not the name of the company. But you know what I mean, like waste management, those kind of companies. So I called them and I try to put the thing in my name. This is what, and this is, I'm going to get to this, doing everything somebody tell you to do. Not understanding when to speak up. But when you speak up, they might be a giant and you just do what you're supposed to do because you don't have a place to live. This is where faith has to just come in, because you can't just be pushed around. You can't just be pushed around. So I called this company and I tried to get the thing for the trash to get picked up. I tried to get it put in my name. And she said, is the house in your name? I said, no. And she said, well, you can't put it in your name. If the house is not in your name, then you can't put this in your name. Same thing with homeowners association. I can't have this in my name if I don't own a house. So now what the owner wants me to do is, but since I can't get it put in my name, he wants me to put down some kind of deposit. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to pay it, because the fact that you didn't even know that I couldn't put that in my name, this is not your first time renting out this house. You've been renting out this house for 20 years. You've been renting out this house for 20 years, and you didn't know that? That means I'm the first person you came to with this BS. You didn't come to anybody else with that. You come to me because I'm the easy person that's going to do whatever you say. This is when it's time to have that courage. And I don't care what kind of giant they seem like they can be. If, oh, I might not have a place to live. This is when, and I don't care what people believe. This is time to bring God into this. Now, God, I'm not talking about some man in the clouds, because we know at this point we're no longer thinking third dimensional anymore. Okay, we know that God is within. It's time to tap into that aspect of yourself. It's time to tap into faith. Because the fact that I had to tell him, I tried to call these people and get it put in my name. And they say, well, if the house not in your name, you can't put it in your name. I said, well, the fact that he didn't know this, he done had several other tenants in his house. And the fact that he didn't know that means that he didn't try that BS with them. He didn't try that with them. He's trying that with me because he feels like he can get over on it. But I don't have the money to keep getting pushed around. I can't afford it. I'm going to tell you something. I cannot afford to keep getting pushed around. I do not have the money. Right? So that's what I'm talking about. The biggest part of karma is learning to have faith. I think the biggest part of people's karma is learning to have the faith like David had. I want to bring this up, and I hate to do it because this is not about somebody else, but this keeps coming to my mind. And I don't have nothing to say about this person. I'm not criticizing this person, but for some reason he came up in my head. Christian Keys and Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry is Christian Keys' Goliath. Tyler Perry is Christian Keys' Goliath. Now, I don't care if people feel like Christian Keys is not perfect. I ain't either. Clearly, you just heard my story and I'm not perfect. But I remember that live that he did in 2023. It was towards the end of 2023, shortly after Cassie came out with that lawsuit against Diddy. Christian Keys was crying at the end and said he wished he would have punched him. He probably would have won the fight too. But he said, wish he would have punched him. He was like coming to tears at the end. Now, anybody else would have put their hands on him like that, he probably would have knocked him out. And probably won. Would have won the fight if it was physical. But Tyler Perry, it's not just a physical fight with Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry is a giant. Tyler Perry is a giant, okay? And that's what I'm talking about. It's some in this life. It's not about what everything that you've done wrong to somebody else. Which, yeah, if it's something that's really, really bad, you might want to find a way to make that right. Okay, you might want to find a way to clear that up. But a lot of people need to have courage, because a lot of stuff has been done against you, and you have not confronted. You have not confronted that aspect, right? And it's almost like, okay, well, this person just let it go, let it go, let it go. I want to say this. Sometimes when you let things go, it's not always about you. It's about what this person continues to do to other people. It's not always about you. I was working at a particular job. I was assigned like a travel therapist. And I was working at this job. And all of a sudden, okay, the supervisor there, she was, everybody knows that she's She's not kind of evil. She's real. She's diabolical. And something happened where they called me and told me to get off the premises and this and that, right? Now, it's a longer story, but I don't want to tell the whole story. It's not that me and the supervisor got into it or anything like that, but something happened. All I can say is it's something that this supervisor was afraid of, and this supervisor felt like I knew something, and she wanted to get rid of me, and she wanted me to not to get off that campus altogether. I'll just say the supervisor might have been involved in maybe some illegal type of activity, maybe some kind of fraud, right? And the supervisor felt like I knew the deeds that what she was the all of the details of what she was doing, and which I didn't, but she felt like I did know it. And it was just one day. I'll say it was one day, and all of a sudden I got the call to get off the premises and all of this stuff right there. And then I had other coworkers that was sent me the text, and she sent a text to everybody, all of the therapists, PT, OTs, saying to not contact me, do not talk to me, and all of this stuff, making it seem like I'm some kind of terrible person, like I'm some kind of menace. And whatever she must have said something to the administrator, because the administrator of that place is the one that made the decision. Okay. And what I'm saying is it's going to take faith to deal with, because this lady has, like I said, this lady has a lot of support, and regardless of how wrong she was, if I was to go up against her in my little human strength, if I was to go up against her, I would have lost the battle, even though she was dead wrong for what she did. If I would have went up against her in my little human strength, I would have lost the battle, because she has a whole lot of support around her that's going to support her lies. And that's what I'm talking about, that some of us in this life, we need to stop sweeping things under the rug when people do things that are diabolical. Because it's more than just about us. They're constantly allowed to continue to get away with the things that they do. So I already knew that the biggest lesson in this life I had to learn is to take authority. Is to take authority. I need to learn to take authority. It's not, oh, you need to go and pay this bill. You need to go pay, because let me tell you something. When I have the money, I make sure that I don't owe anything. So if I have problems paying something, it's because I did not have income. But when I got the income, I made sure that everything was taken care of. So it's not even about me doing something wrong, even though it's a lot of little things I've done in the past I've done against somebody. But that's not my lesson, because anybody could have done things in their past, because nobody's perfect, right? But I'm going to tell you something, that's not my lesson that I'm supposed to be learning. In this life, that's not my lesson. I already know my lesson is, and my lesson is boundaries. My lesson is boundaries. My lesson is learn to take authority. Because these type of situations are going to keep coming up. Maybe it might not be that same person, but it's going to be somewhere else. And the thing is not to learn how to fight with your human strength. You can't fight in the natural, because the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal. Okay? So it's not about trying to fight in the natural, because you're going to lose a fight and it's going to bring about hopelessness. Okay? So that's why I say faith is needed for this, especially for this realm. Faith is needed. And I already know the lesson I'm supposed to learn. But I can't do things in my human strength. I can't do things at an ego type of level. It's going to have to be outside of what a human being can do. And it's going to require faith. It's going to require a lot of faith. And to the point of it, I think a lot of us need to understand that, yeah, vengeance belongs to the Lord, because the vengeance that needs to come on some of these people cannot come from me, because It needs to come from something. See, a lot of people don't believe in this, and that's fine. Vengeance is the Lord, but when they say vengeance is the Lord, it's not about you having to sit back and wait and constantly be walked over. It's about not doing things in your own human ability and going outside of your human ability. This is when we get back to this faith again. It takes faith to get real vengeance on these people. It's going to take faith. It's going to take something out of your human abilities. Uh, and so, but anyway, a lot of people, the biggest thing to learn too is forgiveness. Let me tell you something about forgiveness. Some people don't believe in forgiveness because they think it's letting this person off the hook. And I've said time and time again, from what I've learned, it's not about letting somebody off the hook. Unforgiveness keeps blocks. Like you have a lot of energetic blocks when you hold on to unforgiveness, and it's keeping you from really going into your destiny like you should. So that other person actually continues to have control over you. And when you operate in forgiveness, then you leave room for faith to work. You leave room for faith to work, and you leave room for a lot of blessings to come in. And guess what? You also, the Lord, however you see the Lord. I'm not a religious person. I don't want to have no conversation about Christians and stuff. I don't call myself a Christian. But when you operate in forgiveness, you give room for faith to work, and you give room for the Lord to really work in your life, because there's no blocks there. But when you're in unforgiveness and holding a grudge against a lot of people, then there's too many blocks there for the angels to work, for faith to work, and for the Lord to work. There's too many blocks there. Okay. And so when you're in forgiveness, you can release all that stuff. So to give room for the Lord to work, and you really get the justice that you should have had 20 years ago. All right. But anyway, with that being said, I'll talk later. All right.